You ready to do this, Greg?
I'm ready, Jay.
You're listening to The Success Paradigm with your hosts, Jay Atkins and Greg Gray.
Well, I hope you guys are ready for this one today because this one's going to be a fun ride, which I think, in talking to this person a little bit before, that I think fun is one of the most important things when it comes to success. And I think a lot of people forget to have fun. So we're going to have fun today with our next guest, Mike Burke. And when I read this intro, I'm going to show you how fun this is going to be and how this thing ends. So Mike was born in West Berlin, Germany. His father was in the U.S. Army. So he spent the first 2 years of his life before relocating. In the 1970s, he was raised mostly in Virginia, Vienna and Warrenton, and moved his senior year of high school, which he graduated from Elizabeth City, North Carolina. From 1983 to 1987, he went to the University of Virginia and earned a BA in International Relations and received a Navy ROTC scholarship. In 1988, he married Jennifer Rogers Burke. From
Upgrade right there.
From 1992, he was in the U.S. Navy, USS KIDD, DDG 993 from 1987 to 1990, and shore duty from 1990 to 1992. I didn't know we were in the military at the same time, Mike. From 1992 to 1994, he went back to school to get an MBA from the Darden School at the University of Virginia. From the late 1990s to 2005, he worked in a variety marketing and sales job at AT&T and telecom and internet startups. In 1996 to 2001, he lived in San Francisco, California. Fun. His son Sam was born in 1999, and in 2000, his son Alex was born. He's back in Virginia since 2002. Professionally, Mike has been the agency owner and president of Fort Lauderdale Insurance Services, Inc. since 2005. In July 2005, he bought the Lori Jones Agency. In 2007, he bought the Mike and Linda Oliver agencies. From 2008 to 2016, he went through a period of failure and sadness. But since 2016, he has been winning like Charlie Sheen without the hookers, blow, and HIV.
There we go.
Boom! That's fact. And I actually ran that joke through Allstate Legal. And perfectly fine, because they're all gone. No, that's you're gonna have to edit this already. Sorry about that, but thank you, Jay. That's a great introduction. It was very familiar because I wrote it, so that was good. And it always.
I would have to say it's I felt like I was reading a history book with all the dates. I mean, it was very specific to exactly everything that you've done in your life. Like you are, you're very, very specific, and that's what I love about you. But I'm going to give you a more informal introduction right now, Mike Burke.
Oh.
I have known you since 2008, and I don't know if you remember this or not. This is when I convinced you to convert your telephone system, and you were so nice to invite me into your agency because I was thinking about expanding to Florida. And you invited me in and showed me everything and told me that I would be super successful here. And you've just always been such a gracious individual that I absolutely love, Mike. I really do. You are somebody that when I need a lift or I need to laugh, you are always that person that I can call and count on. And sometimes our conversations go 2 hours. And I'll look up and I'll be like, I can't believe we just talked 2 hours about whatever, business, life, politics, Allstate, which is we're both involved in. But also what I want people to know before we get started is what type of father you are. I admire you so much, Mr. Burke, for the father and husband and where your priorities are in your life. And I think if I had to say anything about success, I think that's what I've learned from you the most. And I know that you have a special needs son, and the way that you handle that with your wife, Jenny, with grace is just an amazing thing to see. And I just wanted to bring that up because you changed me when we've talked about that situation. And I really, really appreciate you for showing me what life is all about. So
You're so nice to bring that up, Jay. And I will talk about that at some length because I think as you guys are both super successful and success is, different for everybody. But I very much appreciate the fact that you know how important my family is to me. At least I'm doing that right. So that's good. And I will talk about Alex, and of course Sam's a phenomenal guy, and we love him to death. We love them both. But yeah, certainly there are things that make us and guide us in different directions in life. And Alex's rare genetic mutation is certainly that. There was definitely, you want to figure out if you're in charge of life, just ask some health questions, right? We're absolutely not in charge, or we wouldn't suffer the things we all suffer or see other people suffer. And but thank you for bringing it up. I appreciate it. And yeah, I remember distinctly, Jay, when you came into our office in Florida, all my staff, or all women at the time, were like, they all sat up a little straighter. They all want to know who that woman was with Jay, but that was fine. She was dead to them. They're like, who was that? And I had to tell them, like, oh, that's my buddy Jay. Yeah, he's superstar agent of North Carolina, blah, blah, Texas. And they're like, yeah, when's he coming back? I'm like, I don't know when he's coming back.
And how was talk time that day? That's really what we're looking at.
Atrocious. It was atrocious. But I will tell you the great lesson from that, and Greg, you've seen this 1,000 times, but it was a very meaningful lesson that I held on to and that took action on like 8 years later, because that's what I do. But Jay came in and we were talking about finality, and I'm like, yeah, I was going to do that. Yeah, I was thinking about that. Yeah. And Jay's like, what are you talking about? Like, we're just going to do it. And he just got on my computer. He's like, called up this guy. Yeah, send it. Yeah, 12 phones. Okay, but
done.
And in 30 minutes or less, I had a new phone system on the way. And that was such a great lesson. And I, like I said, very, 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 very late in life, have kind of picked up on that, which is, you just take action. You guys are both like that. And I think that's really, as we talk about, the success paradigm, I think for me, even though it was late in life, that action, that just take action. Don't almost order the phones, Mike. Just freaking order them. And that was really a great lesson. So I remember that day distinctly. I also remember the financial folder you gave me, do all this stuff, like financial stuff. I just threw that away. I didn't even look at it. I was going to tell you that right now.
You saying that, but I felt so compelled to help you with something because you were
lost like a puppy.
You were teaching me rocket science in a state. I just remember Mike saying, "Are you sure you want to come to the Wild Wild West? Because it's a little crazy down here. I'm not sure that you want to." There's a lot of money made, but it is crazy. So
my brother told me that. He was right. Yeah,
it is crazy. So, Mike, I appreciate you saying that. But what we want to talk about on the success paradigm, what most people are going to be interested in hearing is your story. You're a very humble individual, and even when I ask you to be on this podcast, your first response to me was, what success do we want to talk about? And that's just who you are. And you've had massive success, and you're exactly who we want to talk to, because the people that think they're successful usually aren't. And the people that think they're not successful are the people that really are successful. So, I've gotten the pleasure of talking to your brother on this podcast. I also got the pleasure of talking to Eric at a spa for an hour and a half one time, and I've gotten to know you, and I learned a lot from Eric, and I learned a lot about the Burke brothers, which are really, really successful, very super intelligent individuals. But where did that all start in your life? Like, where did you become Mike Burke and create all the success in your life, even though your humble self will say you're not successful? Where did it all start? Because it's not just you, it's your brother Chris, it's your brother Eric, it's you. Like, you guys come from something that created this massive success pattern and thinking in your life. So where did that story start that has created this glory that you now live?
Well, that's a great question. I think most of us, can't get too far away from our genetics and our upbringing, at least initially. And we were very blessed, as Chris said in his podcast with you guys, that our mother was a saint. She was great. She was brilliant, like off the charts smart, in a time where they sent her brother to school because only one could go. And he went to Princeton and she went to secretary school. And but she was brilliant and a great mother. I tell you what, you got away with nothing. And we very quickly learned a lot in life, which is, one, you're probably not going to get away with it. Two, you really want some other brother to have been in the vicinity so that there was you could introduce some uncertainty into the problem. Otherwise, it was a train wreck. And we learned that very quickly growing up. Also learned that you're going to do your best. You're going to do your best. And the number one thing, and I'll tell you guys the story about it later, but the number one thing we learned from our mother was that it is family. Family, family, family. I mean, we weren't Italian mafioso, but we might as well have been. We, without the violence, and money and power and R-rated TV shows. All right, so we weren't anything like them. That analogy fell apart, but it was about family. And I'll tell you the quick story, which was I was like 7th grade, and my brother Chris was playing tennis. He was a phenomenal tennis player, still is. And he was playing like some, state tournament. And there was some chicky poo, fellow 7th or 8th grade girl. I was like, I'm trying to impress this girl, right? I couldn't pick her out of a lineup. But at the moment, I really wanted to, impress her. And so I'm talking smack and I'm like, oh yeah, my brother, he gets mad all the time. Don't worry. I mean, he's a good guy, but he just gets mad all the time. He's probably going to, because he was starting to get angry on the court. And that was the last time I have ever said anything bad about my brother. You can guarantee it in freaking writing. So my mother pulled me over and she said, if I ever hear you say anything about this family, it is the last thing you will ever say on this earth. Do you understand that? And I did. So for us, doing your best was just, you had to. There was no like, well, I kind of didn't do a good job. No, you're going to just do your best. And family. And I'll be honest, if you have those two things, there's not a lot you can't do in life. You got people behind you, people believe in you, you try hard. It's a big, big world, and you're going to do really, really well. And then obviously we've all done our own things. We're all different in our own ways. But that was, she was a great mom, and Dad was phenomenal. I'll tell you what my dad said to me years and years and years and years ago. He said, because he never listened to anything we said. He just couldn't even stand us. We were just tax write-offs. And we were not allowed, for example, to go into, this is true, but we were not allowed to go into their avocado green 1960s dining room where they were having a cocktail. We had to go to the edge and like, may I ask a question? And my father, I can remember this to this day, he'd sit there drinking, and I know he's laughing his ass off. He's like, no. And then you would have to go away. You'd have to like go away. And I loved it because in hindsight, what do you learn? Like, I'm actually not that important, apparently, in the grand scheme of things, which is a good lesson. But also, he told me, he's like, listen, my job is to love your mother. She's the best. I'm going to love her till the day I die. That's it. If I do that and I provide for you clowns, listen, she's got everything else. She's smarter than me. She's faster, the stronger. She will handle all that. But my job is to love your mother. Also, you cannot go too far wrong if that's your job. If you do that, you really can't go too far wrong in life if you just do that. And again, these are just great lessons. And the fact that he could never quite remember our names and just had to go in order, Chris, Mike, Eric, Chase, whatever your name is, get over here. And some of us have that experience, but we certainly did. And but our mother, she was a saint, like Chris said.
So there was about 4 things I was going to ask you. And then as you went on, they just kept getting replaced by other things. So I will forever have etched in my mind the picture of you at the threshold asking, "Could you come in?" and being told no. So, Mike, there are a lot of folks, maybe not as many as we would all like, but that did have that strength and core in their home. Uh, but that can also be a really high bar to meet on a regular basis too. So, do your best. Like there aren't any other options, just best. And you will never say anything bad about this family, that kind of thing. And so, very clear messaging. Did that all that clear messaging always play itself out though in Mike Burke's day to day? Or tell us about when somebody put a
Yeah.
little extra soap on the slip and slide, and you found yourself trying to get back to the path.
Yeah. That's a great question. A little bit too hard, probably. So I'm going to talk about something else. No,
Okay.
but it's a great question. I really didn't expect a great question. No, just kidding. But uh, here's what I'm going to tell you. So because the bar was high, and as a young person, for me, it was quite easy to meet a bar, which was what? Go to school. This is pre-crack. Don't smoke pot. Okay, so there's none of that, and just live. And so that was very good. When I first ran into reality was in the Navy.
Okay.
Now, I will tell you this, having been raised by a wonderful family, having great brothers, have a lot of success in school and all that other stuff, I was surprised to learn that I was no good at my job in the Navy. And I was a surface warfare officer, and Chris was a great one. Brother Eric was a great one. And I don't know if you know this, but there's like a bell curve for performance. And I was not at whatever the good end is, I was on the other end. And it's funny but true. And I really wasn't very good at it. And it occurred to me later, and I'll tell you what happened. I had this division. I was the division officer, a department head. And I'll tell you, we all hated the guy. It was like a club. We all hated the guy. And that was the thing. Which I can now look back on and realize, like, oh, that was petulant and stupid and probably my fault, but that's okay. At the time, it seemed legitimate. And he asked me a question about something about the ship. You guys going to do this or whatever. And I'll tell you what I did, Greg. I flat out lied to the guy. I just lied. Looked him right in the eye and said, "Here's what's happening, bum, 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 bum." And I walked out. And about a minute later, I was sick that I had done this. And this is not what I was raised to do, ever. This was the antithesis of what I had been raised to do. And so I had to go by, I had to actually walk back into the guy. Anyway, walked into his stateroom. I said, "Hey, what I just told you wasn't true. And here's what I'm going to do. I am going to go do it. I am going to go fix it. And I won't lie to you again." And it was kind of how I got back. Like you said, you got this path, and then I kind of found myself off of it. And that was, it was a great day. It was also kind of a bad day in the sense that I realized, like, wow, like that was not only totally within me, but readily available. And I was glad that I came back and told the guy the truth. Now, I wasn't like the other guy who's a buddy of mine who will go unnamed, even because he's probably not on the podcast, but who would go into the guy's room and take a coffee mug and just throw it off the ship. He just throw it into the ocean. So he would do, that was his way of getting back at this guy. I just kind of lied to the guy sometimes. This guy would like throw his coffee cup overboard every week. So the ocean is littered with this guy's coffee cups because of this other guy whose name I will not use, but I know I could share it if I wanted to. So, did that answer the question?
That did.
Okay.
I'm just picturing how your heart was sinking when you knew, because it was easy. Let's face it, it's easy to lie. I mean,
so easy.
Especially if we're trying to get onto something else or maybe trying to escape some accountability.
Yeah.
But
it was super easy, and it was not how I was raised. My father never, ever ever did anything like that. My mother either, but my father out in business, I mean, he would never, ever do that. And I knew that. But like I said, it's there, right? It's not too hard to get to. And yeah, so that wasn't very good. It doesn't relieve the fact that actually I was still a terrible officer. I mean, it just wasn't good at the job. And when I was getting ready to get out, they're like, hey, they're like, hey, everybody should stay in. But Mike, you're good, man. You're going to be awesome. You go get him, Tiger. And so, yeah, the Navy did not ask me to stick around.
So it sounds like you have tiger blood, is what it sounds like.
Tiger blood. I'm drinking tiger blood. Winning.
So let me ask you. First, it's a quick question. What did that teach you? The fact that you weren't a good officer, and the fact that you lied so readily. Like, what did you learn in that moment that actually ended up being something good for you in the future? Like, what did you learn from those two things? And it's a quick question.
Yeah, I tell you, it was good. The fact that I immediately felt bad was good. The fact that I was able to rally and go back and immediately confess felt amazing. And I, even though I have done bad things in my life, we know we're supposed to tell the truth. We know in our bodies, our souls, our entire physiology, we know we are meant to tell the truth. And when you get away from it, that's not good. It's not good. It's way better to come back to it.
And what did you learn about, not being a good officer, and what came out of that?
I learned that I was I was actually very good at like minute pieces of it, like projects. Like if you're like, Burke, go, clean the toilet. Like I was amazing. I was like great at it, or I could get people to be great at it. But like managing 20 people and their day-to-day activities and laying out a plan and all that, I realized I wasn't very good at that. And so I have, I tried to stay away from those things that I guess reminded me of my shortcomings, right? So like, hey, lay out do the same thing every day with 20 people. Like I really, really, really avoid that because I realized it just doesn't work for me. I'm just not good at it. I try to be good at it. I mean, there's, we can only do what we can do. And I can't do that.
So I'm going to dig into your story just a little bit more because I feel like we just got a little bit of it. I mean, even though you told us the story in your bio with dates and all that, but I just want a little bit more of the actual failure part of it. Even if it was at AT&T, at Allstate, wherever it is, where did you fail and what did you learn from those failures that actually propelled you into, the Mike Burke that you are in 2020?
Yeah. Well, it's only a 9-hour podcast, so I can only go into so many of my failures. But the Navy, I very quickly realized, like I said, I just wasn't good at it. I had no sense of direction. I couldn't be charged of people. I just whatever they wanted, it wasn't me. And really, actually, it came down to forcefulness. This showed up on my fit rep twice. Like, guys got to be more forceful. Got to, speak up more. And I thought to myself, I'm going to go in and tell him no, I'm not. I'm going to do that. So, no, I mean, it was true. It was true. And that was kind of interesting. Like, wow, I thought that if you're just good at school, right? Well, that's it. Not it. Almost nothing to do with it. And so that's when I really started coming to grips with the idea that, okay, so I'm not a type A leader of men. Like, okay, we got that, right? That's understood. But what am I good at? And AT&T helped me realize I'm really good at being on teams. Like, I'm really good. I played soccer growing up. I'm a very good teammate. I'm funny. I make it a good workplace. I'm very focused on projects. So all those things made me feel, kind of offset this abject failure in the Navy, which is really what? Like, hey, let's lead all these people. Let's do all this stuff. Yeah, I can't do any of that. And that really struck a blow as a young guy. I mean, I'm like 22, 23, right? Nobody wants any part of me. Everybody's like, that guy's an idiot. We don't want him. Like, we don't want him on our team. He's going nowhere. And I'll tell you, that doesn't make you feel awesome, especially when you've got 20 plus years of people saying you're the best. It was a shock that I wasn't. I wasn't the best. And so then I went off and I went to grad school and I was pretty good. I did an okay job. But I did actually realize very quickly that I was surrounded by people who were way smarter than me also. And I was glad to be part of the team, not the smartest guy on the bench, but I actually got a great network of people out of that, and that was good. But I'll tell you what I did when I got into AT&T. I shifted around. I did pretty well, and I chased some jobs, and I did okay at them. But my next real failure, and it was probably my biggest failure, came when I was at Nextel just before I got to AT&T. And I won't bore you with all the details, but I will tell you this. There are some people out there in the universe who really think I am a bad guy. Not like he killed my dog bad guy, but like self-absorbed a-hole guy. Now, I could make the case that that's probably true, but it's not something I was proud of. And here's I'm going to tell you what I think happened to me. And I'm going to tell you this happens to people who are not winning, people who may be type B or type C. Okay. And this is I'm just going to tell you a story, which is I was working hard, making company a lot of money. And I, after a couple of years, got obsessed. This is on me, not them. I got obsessed with the idea that I was not being treated fairly. And that I wasn't being recognized, nobody was listening to me. And then politically, I started losing ground with, a big corporation. And I became more and more focused on me. And that is poison. It is poison, my friends. And now you can make the case that, well, but let me explain my side. No, there actually is no my side. I lost sight of what was important. And what is important? Me making like 5 more grand, at the time, I was convinced that was what mattered. It was not a success. And there are a lot of buddies of mine. Now, I would call it a mental breakdown, like without the jacket and the rubber room. But it was a break. It was not. My wife told me a year later. And I'll tell you some of the reasons that went into me not being me at the time. But my wife told me, she's like, you are miserable to be around. Nobody wants to be around you. And that is not really where you want to be either. But now at the time, I'll tell you the worst day I had. That was our son Alex, who's had, God bless him, I don't know, 10,000 seizures, uncontrolled seizures his whole life. Tremendous disaster personally for him and in a lot of ways for our family. But there's so much upside. I'll tell you about that later too. But my wife called me. Jenny's like, oh my God, he's having another seizure. This is like the 3rd seizure. Now we'd gone 2 years without any seizures. And we had 3 seizures in a month. And I'm like, fuck. So I'm driving home from work, and my mother calls me. My sainted mother, as you'll remember.
Mhm.
Now, I'm going to try to say this without breaking up here, but I'm driving home because Alex had a seizure. My mother calls me, and she says, it's everywhere. And she's hysterical. And it's cancer. So she had brain cancer, bone cancer, lung cancer. And I'll tell you, that was not a great day. I've had good days. That was not one of them. But all of this, right? And everybody deals with some giant disaster, right? There's always a disaster. There's always some train wreck coming. Either you just had one, you're in the middle of the one, or you're going to have one. I think that's really the way life works in a lot of ways. But I took that negative and I just compounded it. And I just went off the rails. So after that, and I decided just a little bit before that, I talked to my brother Chris. I'm like, yeah, I got to get out of here, man. I hate these guys. They hate me. I got to get another job. And so that's where the Allstate thing came from. But it was a failure. And I tell you, in the middle of it, my buddies were like, dude, come back. Like you've lost your mind. Couldn't hear. So when people have trouble today, and they do, I, not being in the middle of it right now, I am very cognizant of the fact that life is hard and great people can really struggle. So it does make it better for me being through that worst part of my particular life, that I'm much more understanding of people than certainly I was beforehand or in the middle of it. I was a very, very, very self-absorbed guy. And it's so much better to think about others. It just is.
Well, when you were talking about that moment, so I'm guessing that everybody is relating to some piece of that when I am the center of my own horrible universe kind of thing. You reminded me there was that we're probably, I guess, close to the same age that you were going through this. And we were at a Atlanta Braves game. And back then the Braves this is the early 90s, they were so bad we just waited till the second inning and you could walk into the stadium. I mean, even the people who took the tickets were like, come on, there's nobody in here. So bad, Mike, that you could, if you were yelling at the pitchers, they would actually look toward that part of the stadium because they knew where you were. That's how empty the stadium was. And so I was going through something like that, and I'm relating to this, and I'm wanting, because all of us do, all of us have, are, or will. And I was in that moment where I was with a buddy of mine, and I was just, boy, the world was taking a hammering from me. And there was this guy 20 rows in front of us, and there was nobody else so it wasn't like he spoke over people, but 20 rows from us did what I hope all of us will have someone do for us. And he looked around and he's like, dude, you need counseling. This is in the middle of the Atlanta Fulton County Stadium. And I was like, I don't even know it was that bad that a complete stranger. But, it's important to your point to have someone actually say that to you, because you can get so far in it that's all you can see. So there was something else that you said. I just got to ask you about this because you were talking about, this whole in the Navy, this whole managing group of 20 people in day to day, and that, it was just not your cup of tea. And now you have how many people on your team roughly?
Well, 10.
10. And you're managing their day to day. So you figured some stuff out, or you're just a little slow on the uptake on the fact that this thing is not working. So, Mike, what did you learn from that is helping you where you are right now? Because you, to some degree, you're kind of in the if you laid it out on the table, it looks the same, but execution, I'm guessing, is a little different.
It is, Greg. It's a great question because there are similarities. And I did, as I told that story, I thought, they're going to think this is the same. But I have now what I didn't have then. And I have, as you guys know, maybe the best agent in the country. I have Bonnie Smart, who runs my office. She does the things that I can't do. She shows up every day. Somehow I can't do it. I don't know. I don't know why. Like, what's wrong with me? I don't know. But shows up every day, does everything, gets the payroll, counsels people, and she gets it done. So that piece I really don't do, which is good for everybody. When I did it, like early on, I didn't do a very good job. I mean, I was not winning, right? I mean, that really actually kind of came about. And it's interesting you say that because I think a lot of people do better when they have a business partner. Like my brother Chris and his partner John Bowden, those guys, they're geniuses, right? They feed off each other. You and Jay, you feed off each other. I actually needed two people. I'm so weak. I need Bonnie and Alex Marrero. So Bonnie Smart and Alex Marrero. And poor Amy Wysocki, fabulous, amazing woman. Love her. She's on my team. She's great. She just had me being Navy Mike. Yeah, it was not good. So it was hard on her. Like the guy, I don't know where this guy's coming from. He can't really seem to execute. So it wasn't a good time for her for many years. And then for Bonnie for a couple of years. And then I actually came to the conclusion that, you know what I'm terrible at? Being an insurance agent. That's actually super interesting. So shouldn't have done this. But what I am really good at is projects. And the project I broke it down as is we are going to make this goal by selling. And I kind of got myself fired up, and you guys know that story. But that day to day, I'm just still terrible at it. It's a shame. It's a shame. But since, like you said, I have another solution, and the solution is, Bonnie Smart, who's phenomenal, unbelievable woman.
So, Mike, again, super humble, and
so much data.
Greg and I are very good judges of character, and based on who we have and help us, and we've asked for you to help us at Agency Sales Academy because you are so good. And you coach every single month people, and you have one of the highest ratings on our coaching. So there are things that you're really, really good at that you don't get enough credit for.
There are good things. No, that's a great point, Jay. I appreciate that. And I love working with you guys. And that is after I got out of my craziness world. I'll tell you about some other people as I go along. But I got my best friend, Carl Kime, a colonel in the Marines, phenomenal guy. My whole life, he has always said, how can I help? How can I help? I'll tell you what, when you get more of that going on in your life, everything gets better. It's like all this stuff, Greg does with the alphas in Atlanta. What's he doing? He's helping. And once I got away from this kind of, black hole of, self-love and self-loathing and self-promotion and self, and started giving to others, boom, everything gets better, right? And so I appreciate the fact that you guys let me do the ASA stuff. I love it. I am good at it because I can talk like nobody's business for an hour, maybe two.
You are the definition.
I'm a great talker.
You're the definition of edutainment.
Indeed.
So, Mike.
Oh, hold on. It's the White House.
Now it's happened twice.
Now
it's happened twice. Yeah,
that was amazing. By the way, hold on. Okay. No, thank you. Yeah, it turns out I did not win the Nobel Prize for poetry. I just want to share that with you. They thought that was Dr. Brown's number. It wasn't. And so there you go. I listened to those two this weekend, by the way. That's why I'm like, really? You guys are killing me. Like, why am I on? But those
I think
are
everybody
great
watching,
podcasts, by the way. They're phenomenal.
everybody watching knows why you're on now, Mike.
They're
No doubt
great.
about it.
Thanks.
They're great.
Usually you don't advertise other shows when you're on a show, Mike. I'm just it's a tip for the future. Everyone's just switched over from our show to like our live just ticked down. There you go. No back podcast and no one's watching now. So,
what are you gonna do?
You're one of the things I want to say before I forget. So I've always been in awe of the father that you are, and I would tell you it's helped me be a lot better father, and with my 2.5-year-old than I was with my 26-year-old, because I wasn't that great of a father when I was 19. But because of you, I've become a lot better father just watching and how you talk about Alex, and so. And now I know why, because of your mom and that one little lesson of, never, your family is your family. And I love that was probably the biggest spark that has made you the husband and, the father that you are. But when it comes to success, you obviously, like everyone, compares themselves to everyone else. And when I invited you on to come on this podcast and talk about it, your first response was, I don't really have much to talk about. But you do have a definition of success, and I do feel like you are super successful. So when you think of the definition of Mike Burke's success, like what does success look like for you?
Yeah, we were just talking about this. And if you know me well enough, it's true. I just want to be left the F alone in my basement. I just want to watch a TV show, and for the love of God, just leave me alone. And it's very seldom that I'm successful. I'll just be honest. It almost never works out. And it gets to that point of like, why can't the guy just execute a plan? I don't know. But I do love being left alone in my basement. Sometimes I really do. Just recharge.
Well, that was simple. You know what? I think I'm gonna. I don't even have a basement, but I aspire to the same thing now, Mike.
Oh my gosh!
So one of the things that I have, you and I have known each other for some time now, but I did not, and Jay opened and he was talking about you as a father, and you talked a little bit about what fatherhood has meant, along with the challenges associated with it. But what I am struck by is that I never would have known that. I mean, I think the only way I found out was maybe that Jay mentioned it, or I saw, a Facebook post or something like that that had your son, Alex, on the. But I never knew. And I think it's a striking thing for, it's people see Mike Burke, they're looking at Mike Burke, the Mike Burke we're looking at, and just like I did before, and I was like, man, this guy is like, he is flying high. He's on a cloud, not a care in the world, and I think there's something to take that analogy and make it weirder about flying and being on a cloud, and also having a real heartfelt anchor about it's the things that your family has grown with and grown into and is continuing to grow through. Makes the rest of us drive by a lawn and say, oh, that's a lawn. You drive by a lawn is like, look at that green and that grass, because of your experience with your family. I mean, your nuclear family. So how do you, because there's a lot of people dealing with a lot of stuff. How do you do that? I mean, it's almost an oversimplification. I don't mean to insult it, but I don't even know how to ask the questions. How do you do what you do, knowing the weight that you carry, and not that you see it. It's not that you see it as a burden or anything like
Yeah.
that, but it is a lot. I mean,
Yeah.
you can't just blink that away. So how do you do that and then bring all of the Mike Burke that we see to the playing field every day?
Yeah. Well, that's a great question, Greg. I tell you, it has been a journey. My wife and I talk about it sometimes. Alex has absolutely 100% made us who we are. He's made Sam, our older boy, who is great young man, amazing young man. He's shaped him too, right? And I think what's so interesting, I'll tell you a couple quick anecdotes. Alex used to walk, he used to sign, he could do a couple things. He was always contrarian. We loved it. I mean, the first thing we did when we moved here, we had to change the front door because that guy figured out like these guys are idiots. I'm freaking out of here. And he like literally walked out the front door. Like he pulled the handle. It wasn't a knob. It was just a handle.
Mm-hmm.
So he like pulled the handle down. It's like, I'm out. See you, losers. And he would just like wander off. And so we had to like, come to grips with that. So he had this great personality. And every single day for many years when I would go get him, because I would be up first in the morning, he would greet me. Like he was sitting up and he was like, yes, the day could start. Like he was so excited to see it. Now, obviously, we've suffered great losses, but you know what? That makes us human. Like we're human. You know what humans have? They lose. They win and they lose. And I am not alone. And I will not tell you that I'm alone in the universe in losing. There are many people, many. Everybody in some ways. Mm-hmm. But I'll tell you, when he was having seizures early and they were uncontrolled and it was really, really going south quickly, I basically despaired. And my wife did not. No way. Now, I can make this commercial for, God, but I will tell you that there is great power and strength and comfort that comes from knowing that Alex is amazing. He's God's son, just like you and me. He's unbelievable. He's driving one of the ricketiest, BS, stupidest carts that you could drive. Like the thing doesn't work, right? It's a Yugo that's been through a wreck, right? It's the worst. He's just driving a really bad car. But our bodies and our minds are not our souls. And I'll tell you this, when you come to grips with the idea that everybody is one of God's loved creatures, it's humbling, it's empowering, and it helps you just look for the good. There's unlimited people to point out the bad. We are genetically predisposed. 100,000 years of like, oh, what the hell was that? What sound was that? Like, what was that in the forest, right? We are predisposed to fear. And that is not why we're here, though. Do not be afraid. We are not here for that. We're here for two reasons. And if you're a Christian, you have your two. If you're not, you have two other reasons. But whatever your reason, right? We're here to love God and love one another. Well, you can't love another person if you think they're an asshole, they're not helping you, you're self-absorbed. And I've been all those things. But my wife showed me the way, and our family the way. And
well, that's the second time that you've talked about how important it is to have the right person on the team. So I
would absolutely not be doing success. You know what I'd be doing? I'd be on the Success Paradox podcast. So I would not be, trust me, the greatest deal I ever did was convincing my poor, beautiful wife to marry me. one of the all-time great tricks. And I don't know if you ever saw that Friends episode, but like there's this super beautiful woman and like Chandler's trying to talk to her and Phoebe's like, oh, you ever see those beautiful women with like those nothing guys? You could be that guy. And I'm like, yeah, that's.
It made you tear up when you saw that episode, didn't it?
Oh, you could have written this.
There but four.
It's fact, Jack. So,
awesome.
but Greg, thank you. That is a phenomenal question. It does drive me. It is why I got out of middle management and wanted to be an Allstate agent to provide for Alex to solve that. And it has. Thank you, Allstate. And thank you, brother Chris. And, but at the heart of it is, well, guess what? Mothers love her son.
I just love how you talk about your family, Mike. I mean, I've heard you before, but just, I don't know, in this light on this podcast, it's something different for me. So I really, really, really appreciate.
I'll be honest, guys. I usually don't talk about Alex for the simple reason that it's very hard.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what? I love when you talk about him.
We appreciate it.
It definitely is. It's very inspiring.
He's a great spirit.
Well, and I think it just helps us appreciate all of our family hearing you talk about Alex in that light. I think everyone listening can appreciate their family and not take for granted every single day that you've been with them. So I really appreciate that. Well, so I'm going to switch gears here and ask you a question that I know that you live by some habits every single day, even if it's towards your family or.
That's just for the audio people. They're going to like, what was that?
If you could share one habit that you think has made you successful that other people could implement on a daily basis, what would that be?
Well, I'm very hard to pin down. I'm very scatterbrained. So I'm going to tell you the one I'm doing right now, but I'm going to tell you another one. And the one I'm doing right now is from our friend Danelle Delgado, which I've been doing all year. And that is, I bought her gratitude book. And every single day I think I missed one in January. But I write 10 things that I'm grateful for. And here's the trick, and I've posted on this in Facebook, and my 11 followers they're very complimentary to it. And no, I have 11 actually. And when you start being grateful, everything is easier. You just see goodness everywhere. She is a brilliant, powerful, wonderful woman. Amazing, right? You guys know her better than me, but I'm just amazed by her. But that one habit has made this year a crap year by basically all standards, right? It has been very good for me in the sense that I always start every single day. With two things. I can tell you, I actually am reading, which I'm not. I'm reading / listening to the Bible in 1 year. Now, I've tried to read the Bible before, unreadable, like super duper hard. Don't try it; you'll give up at Leviticus. But this app, I read it. He's like, okay, Mike, this is what's going to happen, and they tell me what's going to happen, and then read it, and that's good. And then I immediately do my gratitudes, and it immediately gets me in a good, positive frame of mind. And listen, there's so much negativity. You guys heard me talk about this ad nauseum. There's so much BS coming at us all day, every flipping day. You need to get the armor of God, the armor of positivity, the armor of gratitude on, because the second you turn on the radio, TV, click on that news link, you're getting bombarded with what? Death, destruction, mayhem, and horror. And none of it is designed to anything but to get your attention. So the other habit, which I know I was only allowed one, but I don't care, was this idea that you guys have heard me talk about is Grant Cardone, the 10X rule. And basically, if you're going to have a goal, make it big. But what I did, and I found it on my computer. I had my goals from 2011. Which, by the way, I succeeded not at all. It was a complete failure. But I read all the goals, and I'm like, there's like 15 goals. well, what did we already talk about? I can't manage large blocks of things over time. I'm a very, exocet missile guy. And so that became like, you know what? And when we finally decided to win, I'm like, well, I'm just going to win this. And every single day I wrote down win circle champions, win circle champions, win circle champions, every single day. And so when you write it down, as we've talked about, or it's been pointed out, like immediately you're like, oh, I better do something different. So that habit, whatever your goal is, write it down every day. It immediately stops whatever BS you were going to do, and it brings you back to that goal. That was super powerful for me.
Great book you should read that we're reading in the book club right now is The One Thing.
Oh, yeah. I've read it.
Yeah, it's a really good book.
It's a great book.
So, Mike, you just said something that is you said it really quickly, but I want to come back to it because you said when we decided to win. And I think that at least in my past life, I don't know that I always connected winning with the decision to do so. I think I connected it to some series of activities that, footprints on the dance floor that someone else laid out. And if you do this, you'll win. But talk about deciding to win. I mean, I've seen you speak a couple of times, and there's this talk you do where you talk about coming out of the dark ages of the 2011 through 2008. Yeah. So, but you said you decide to win. What does that mean, and how did you do it? I mean, did it just fall on you, or did someone say something, or what?
Yeah, that's a great question, Greg. And again, I mean, this is like I'm 50 now when I, decided to win, right? Why I waited 50 years? I didn't want to peak too early. I don't know. Like what squirrels were going on in my head that all of a sudden it hit me. But it actually gets to a guy you guys introduced me to, Gary John Bishop, which great book, on F Yourself, which I actually used his terminology before I knew his terminology. And what happened was doing the agency, and I borrowed a lot of money, bought out 2 highly successful women, incredible agents. They took all my money and ran off laughing, and I just turned out I didn't know what the hell I was doing. And then I kind of slowly rode this, off the cliff. And then in December 2016, I got my CSRP, and I looked at it. It's like, oh my God, it was a disaster. And it got me to this point, and this is what Gary John Bishop talks about. I became unwilling to fail again. And, I willed to win, like, I'm going to write a bunch of brokered. And we did, and we were very successful doing that. That was fine. But I had always told myself this crazy thing about Allstate's auto product. And, you don't understand, Greg. And let me tell you why, And I had all these stories in my head, right? All those things. As Satchel Paige says, it's, it ain't what you don't know that's going to hurt you. It's what you don't know. It's what you know that just ain't so. And that was me. Like, let me explain why I can't succeed. And I was so convinced in my idiocy that I had justified every failure, even though Jay's killing it, he's buying, Arkansas, whatever. I mean, he's going off doing all these crazy, amazing success. I'm like, well, but I had all these stupid reasons. But when I saw that report, I'm like, I'm going to go bankrupt. I am unwilling to go bankrupt. I am unwilling to fail anymore. And that really was it. And so to that end, it was a decision. And the decision was, well, I'm gonna effing figure this out. Now, luckily, I had great people at the time, and still do, so that they helped me. Because otherwise, I probably would have said that for like a week and a half, and then laughed like I'd done 10 other times. But in that case, it became this emotional. I became, in Gary's term, unwilling I was unwilling. And of course, when you're unwilling or super willing, then you can take action and change yourself. And for me, it was a get away from the negative. Just like when I was torturing those poor people at Nextel, being such an a-hole, I was unwilling to stay in that environment, one that I had created and done bad things, just been an unpleasant personality around, but I was unwilling to stay in it anymore. And so sometimes that I got to get away, not to advertise Southwest, but is a good idea.
I thought it was Earth, Wind, and Fire. Same thing there. Same thing. So, Mike, there's so many things that you've shared that I think are, you're so articulate and you're so quick that if you don't catch this train when it goes by you, you may absolutely miss it. So I want to go back to when you described, the Navy asking everybody to kind of re-up. I had this picture of this kid on the basketball court and it's a pickup game, and they were like, "We'll take you, okay, not you, and you." So, and this is your country. This is not just like,
they can't get enough people. Greg.
I want to make
we're building
this
600 ships. We need 10. Well, not that guy. I mean, for the love of God, not that guy. Like, come on, we want to win. The Russians are right there. Yeah.
I mean, I'm intentionally making this as painful as I possibly can. Your country said, "You know what?"
Yeah.
And this is
volunteer Navy.
Right. Yes.
I mean, it's volunteer, but like.
So what would you? How old were you when this happened? By the way, when that moment.
I was 22.
So you are still really young.
I was probably 22 when I realized, I have made a mistake. Like, I don't know what I'm doing here. And I was there probably 2 days before they figured it out. Like, they're like, Jesus Christ, man. 300 million people? This is, I don't know what they were thinking, but.
Well, buyer's remorse. Buyer's remorse, yeah.
Pay your taxes. Yeah, that's right.
So, one of the questions, and Jay and I talk about this, there's every one of these conversations that we have with people is so different. And he said something that made me think differently about one of the questions that I ask, and that is, the time machine question. And, if you could go back, and I usually say if you could go back and talk to your 10-year-old self or your 12-year-old self. But I really, the moment you knew that you weren't getting picked up in the national serve your country basketball game, because that had to be a gut punch. So what would you tell 22-year-old Mike now in that moment, based on what you know now? If you could go talk to 22-year-old Mike right in that moment, what would you say to him?
Yeah, that's a great question, Greg. I'll tell you, because I figured it out. Well, they figured it out very quickly, and I figured it out a little bit later. But knowing what we know, right, as mature adults, I would tell him what I tell everybody, which is no problem. Don't worry. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be awesome. Just do your best. Do your best and do your couple of years. And you know what they call the guy who graduates the bottom of his doctor's class, his medical school? Doctor. They call him doctor, right? You know what they call the guy who's the worst naval officer on the USS KIDD? Veteran. So I'm a veteran. Like, I served my country. I did as well as I could. The fact that maybe they would have traded me for a bunch of other. I did what I could do. And I think it's very freeing when you understand that, listen, just do your best. Do your best. And ask for help. Like, I was very lucky, and later in my career on the ship, and when I first got there, I didn't have a chief. I didn't have a Bonnie. I didn't have anybody to help me. And it was just me. And I'll tell you, that is not a good answer, right? It wasn't a good answer for the people who work for me. It wasn't a good answer for the Navy. It wasn't a good answer for the Burke family. It wasn't good. And by the end, I actually had matured and done a better job. And they're like, you're going to be an awesome civilian. And thank you for your time. But I was no longer like super terrible. They're like, you know what? You're the best. And I'll tell you a quick story. My captain, who became a 3-star admiral, fabulous guy, Admiral Belial, I pity that poor man. He was like 38. He was really a hot runner in the Navy. I was like 22, and they're like, not just me. Like, I'm not the only idiot, just so you know. Like, there were multiple idiots. And there were some great ones, too, who went off to become captains, and they're friends of mine, and they're great. But that man, when I came back in 2001, we moved back from California. And I hadn't seen him in, I don't know, 10 years. But a couple of us were unemployed. This was after 9/11. So I guess it was 2002. And he talked to one of the guys who was not crappy. And I was like, well, listen, get, him and Mike and bring them a lunch. And I'll fix it. And so he did. We went and we had lunch. I hadn't seen him in 10 years, and he's just a phenomenal guy. Super genius, great, amazing naval officer, right? 3-star admiral. And he knew me. He knew me for what I was good at, and respected me for that. Respected me for my service, which is always great. And he's called up some contractor, defense contractor. He's like, "Yeah, you're gonna hire this guy. He's gonna hire him. Whatever he wants." And now I didn't end up going that route, but that kind of, Jay Adkins, get out of the way. I'm buying you finality. Give me the phone. I'm calling a contractor. I'm not that guy by default. That's just kind of not who I am, right? I got an older brother. Well, he does all that. Like Chris is that. He's Batman. I'm Robin. I'm not saying Robin's bad. I'm not saying I always wear green tights. I'm just saying I'm kind of Robin. And you can succeed as Robin. It's okay. It's okay. But the closer you get to yourself and your own truth, the better you're going to be. And when I tried to be, Joe Blow in charge of people and telling people everybody saw it was a fraud. Everybody could tell it was silly. And it was. And it didn't work. It didn't work.
Wow. Everyone, no, I don't think. I'm sure Jay just wrote down, you can still succeed as a Robin. And I know that has got to be one of the takeaways. The green tights, not so much, because that was disturbing.
Exactly. Yeah. But yeah, be yourself. And it's so much easier being yourself than some vision of what you think other people want. It really is.
So I'm gonna bring you back to a little bit of an emotional spot here, and I'm gonna make you think a little deeper level when it comes to your legacy. And I want you to your legacy is based on Alex and information that you're going to leave Alex with. Because I'm a believer, and I know different people believe different things, but I believe what you said earlier, that it's all about our soul. And I feel my mother passed away 7 years ago, and I feel like her soul's still here. I feel like her soul's in my daughter. And I don't know exactly what happens because I've never been on the other side, but I feel like when we come back, our souls come back. But if you were going to leave this planet Earth and you had 3 things you were going to leave Alex with, and when he comes back in a Ferrari, the Yugo, what are those 3 things in that legacy that you would want him to come back to Earth with?
Wow, that is way deeper than my green tights analogy, but probably more useful. I mean, for most. That's a great question. I would tell you this: late in life, and I consider myself late in life because it's pretty hard to double my age and think like, 110. Yeah, I'm probably fine. So I'm getting there, and so starting to think about these things. I would tell you this. Everyone, and I mean every single person, is of value. God, I believe in God. You cannot believe in God. I'll tell you, if you wonder, you know, read C.S. Lewis, Mere Christianity, listen to RZIM podcast, phenomenal. That you really are building on sand without a basic belief in something. And I find it very easy and comfortable to believe that we're all worth something. And we're not worth something because the New York Times told me we're worth something. That's not why we're worth something. We're worth something because God created us in his image. And now you could say, but Mike, that was a long time. Whatever. I mean, that's fine. You know, we talk about that too. But the point is, if I could leave Alex anything, and I hope he knows, and I think he does, that he is loved and certainly cared for. He knows who we are, right? I mean, that's good. He's got a few squirrels going on in there, which is good. But if you always believe that every single person you talk to is of value, God, your life is going to be so rich. So rich. You guys are great examples of that. I mean, what you do with talking to all these amazing people. I listened to 2 of them, and I'm like, oh my God, these guys do this all the time. I should probably listen to this. So, like, that was super interesting. But if you get that, I think you're automatically way, way, way ahead. Number 2, I would tell you, every single person can be amazing. Be amazing. I got a great buddy. I'm not going to say his name because I don't want to drag him down. But he is a super rock star at a big financial company. Super rock star. Probably be a CEO someday. And he told me something. Not only is he just a phenomenally nice, funny, brilliant guy and a beautiful family and is incredibly generous. And I mean, he's all those things. He's, you know, super irritating. But he said something years ago that was, I think, really, really powerful for anybody who wonders. And this is really where my success came from, and recently with Allstate, is you need to believe that what you do matters. I'll tell you, there have been times when I did not believe what I did mattered. And it was all about me and my paycheck and me getting ahead and me and me. By the way, did I mention me? That is not when I performed the best. That is not when I was happiest, certainly. But he believes, and it's from his background, he's raised by a single mom, that helping people understand money is his mission. And he has helped many, many people understand money. Money, listen, you and I didn't create this world. We're here, we're gone, whatever, but it's an economic world. And if you do not understand anything about money, it's going to be hard. It's going to be a really hard trip. And so that's his mission. And you could say, wow, he's just trying to get ahead at a financial company. No, that's not true. What he's trying to do is help people. And because he wants to help people, he got ahead. I really believe it's true. So believe that what you are doing matters. Is that 3?
That's 2.
That's 2?
No, everyone can be amazing.
Everyone could be amazing.
And everyone has value.
Everyone has value.
I wanted another one. I'm sorry.
I'll give you one more. I'll give you a bonus.
Okay.
Always ask out the prettiest girl in the room. No, just kidding. But by way of saying, go for it, right? Not to advertise for Nike, but that idea of do it. I spent much of my life being worried and conservative. And I don't want to lose that because I could not. It's all madness and falsehood. Be whatever. How did Greg Gray create a phenomenal speaking career? Like, how the heck do you do that? Like, it wasn't because you didn't take chances. You decided to do it. And the more we decide to just do it, take the risk, it's fine. It's fine. We're not going to get eaten. There are no wolves. It's going to be fine. You know what happens if you go bankrupt? Nothing. Nothing.
A lot
Nothing.
of people
Literally
have,
nothing.
and bounce back. Yeah.
Bounce back. So
Thank
I
you.
hope that was 3. That's 3.
No.
3 to 4.
I'll take the bonus round. The bonus round was cool.
All right, Mike. Well, that was I loved all those, and we haven't had those 3, so that was very
good.
unique, and appreciate those. So I'm gonna ask you. We're gonna wrap this up, and I want to ask 2 quick questions. 3 most recommended books that you've read in the last year or 5 years that you would recommend that people read.
Yeah, I mentioned one. I reread it every couple of years. Mere Christianity by C.S. Lewis. Very quick read. It's basically based on a series of speeches he did in World War II in England. They're being bombed. It's a great defense of faith. And if you don't know or you're wondering, it's a great one. So that one for sure. I think if you are stuck in life, you're watching too many podcasts. You came across this. You're like, yeah, what the heck? Oh, this is Mike Burke guy. What the hell, man? I'll try him. No, if you're stuck and you need a push, I think Gary John Bishop's Unf Yourself is a great book. It's a great book. And I encourage anybody who's stuck to do it. And of course, I think if you haven't read, and I put them together, but the 10X Rule and Sell or Be Sold by Grant Cardone, they made me a very different person. They made me wildly successful at what I do. And I strongly encourage anybody, and it doesn't have to be sales even, but those kind of together, I think would help that, type B, type C, Robin, like, hey, you can win. You can win in ways you never imagined. And it can be learned. It can be learned. It's not born, You can really learn these things. And that's, I think, what we should do. We should try to get better and learn things.
Well, I have to tell you how cool it is to see the scroll of Mere Christianity and Unf Yourself right back to back. That is Mike Burke. That's everything you need to know about Mike Burke is right there.
That is funny, Greg. That's funny.
You. That is you.
Great.
I hate to say it, but that's a little revealing.
Right after Christianity to have that. I mean, that's a perfect lineup there. You couldn't have put it one more over.
That is funny.
Well,
and dark and terrible all at the same time.
and one, I know you follow people online or YouTube or TED Talks. Who you following this year that people should tune into that's piqued your interest?
Oh, that's a good one. I'm not sure I'm really following anybody. I tell you, and this is embarrassing, but I find out that during kind of the election year, I really try to minimize my media. I find it healthier. And when I get on Facebook and my wife's like, yeah, you can't do that anymore. Get off Facebook. It's like, okay, I'll get off Facebook. So my control is still not good. And so I'm not really following anybody new. But I am going to keep listening to the Success Paradigm because those 2 guys, Dr. Jericho Brown and it was Bill White.
Bill White, yes.
White, yeah. They were great. And we just listened to them this weekend. We just were folding laundry and doing whatever, put it on. And they were phenomenal. Very different men. Amazing stories. And again, anything that brings us up, anything that proves our worth, and that's what you guys are doing, it's phenomenal.
Well, just like you
need
said,
more.
An hour and 20 minutes can sometimes intimidate. And when I look at it, it intimidates me until I saw Joe Rogan's was 5.5 hours. I was like, oh, this is like 15 minutes.
Yeah. That's a 5. Yeah, I haven't watched all his stuff, but wow, that's a lot.
Well, Mike, I really appreciate you taking the time to do this and getting raw with us.
You guys are the best. You guys are the best.
I appreciate your friendship
and
what you brought to my life. And the most important thing that I appreciate about you is I don't think I've ever called you one single time in my life and you haven't picked up the phone. Not one.
I always pick up for Jay.
Always pick up the phone every single time.
Oh,
If it's-
well, you're a special guy, and you've always been great to me, and I value you two both. And of course, Greg, I want to get to know you better if you ever leave Atlanta. But come to Florida, I'll meet you in Texas. Oh, you're not going? Never mind. All right,
You've actually lived in Texas once.
I'm getting around. I'm going to get around a little bit.
all right. Well, we'll sit down and have some more time together.
I look
And,
forward to it.
it's so nice of you guys to let me share the success paradox. It's an offshoot.
You might
spin off.
You might
Spin-off. That's
there might be a spinoff there coming.
That's right. Yeah. It's like WTF, the success paradox.
This is the part of the podcast where I talk about the ingredients for Mike Burke's success. And we didn't tell you this before, but
Jenny.
we are
We got her in here.
we are in the process of writing a book.
Oh, that's awesome.
Paradigm, and we're using
I'm gonna text my
all
wife.
the successful people's takeaways and writing a book about it. So we have your permission on the air right now that we can do that, Mike? We can use some of your takeaways?
Yeah, I'm just going to get my wife in here real quick. I want her to say hi to you.
There's a squirrel going behind Mike right now.
White House? Yeah, I'll hold.
Do you want me to wait on your wife on a live podcast for her to come?
No. She'll either come or she won't. That's the way it goes. Yeah, who knows what'll happen. I mean, maybe she comes in, maybe she doesn't. I'm surprised she didn't walk in and turn on the printer.
You're the guest, so we usually just cater to our guests.
No, but you guys have all the permission in the world. Go forth and conquer. I think it's a great idea. I think I think people love this kind of stuff.
So here are the ingredients for Mike Burke's success.
Oh, God help us.
You must take action.
Yeah.
You don't ever get away with anything.
Just wave. There you go. That's it.
Do your best always. Family first. Love your wife. Never tell even a white lie. If you do, go right back and tell the truth.
Yeah.
Know your shortcomings. Know what you're good at and focus on that. If you focus on you, it's poison. Don't ever be self-absorbed. Focus on what's important, and that's others. Don't be miserable to be around. Life is hard. Great people struggle. Disaster is either coming, you're in it, or you just got through it. And that's just the life cycle. Hire to your weakness. Surround yourself to your weakness. Weaknesses can cost you more. Ask how you can always help. You only want to be left alone in your basement. Our body and mind is not our soul. Always look for the good. Don't fear. That's not why we're here. You do a gratitude journal and read the Bible every single day are your two habits. Ask for help. You can succeed even as Robin. Yes. Don't be a fraud. Your legacy is everyone has value. Everyone can be amazing. What you do matters. Always go for it. Help people authentically, and you can have an amazing life. The recommended books are Mere Christianity, On F Yourself.
No matter how many times that happens, it's going to be funny. I'm just sorry.
That's so.
Sell or Be Sold, and 10X Your Life. And those are the ingredients for Mike Burke's life.
Well, yeah. There should be a warning, like warning. Should be like a prescription. Do not operate heavy equipment.
Well, Lola will make sure that it's on our podcast.
Good.
On there.
Well, you guys are the best. Thank you so much for letting me do this. It was awesome. It was a great way to spend a little bit of time.
You're a quality people, Mike. And I just like you mentioned the podcast you listened to and you thought they were awesome. somebody else is going to have that same experience, and yours is going to be amongst the one they're going to talk about. So,
well, I
thank
hope
you.
so. Well, yeah, no, you guys, this is great, and really, I encourage people because sometimes you look back like, oh, look at all those podcasts, but I just picked a couple of the Success Paradigm. It was amazing. I mean, it was really, really great stuff. So that's what I'm going to be listening to, because it was super interesting. But that was super. Those guys,
Always so humble.
you guys are the best.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
buddy.
Peace out, and I stick
All right.
around.